Hi everyone. Today markets were an absolute rocket ship once again here for the Nasdaq, continuing this run into the after hours yesterday and all session here today, closing pretty much on the high, but look how extended we are here on that 1 hour RSI. Let's take a look at this chart and many others and see if we can find some direction for tomorrow. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So Fed Powell spoke today and he said he's not worried about independence under the Trump administration. He said there are protections in the legislation to keep the central bank separate from political influences. We'll see how it plays out. My guess is he's probably correct. He's probably not going to be influenced. But I still think it's interesting that this is even being talked about. Could they install a shadow chair to undermine his authority to get some more insight on what the bank is thinking? Maybe that could be interesting. But either way, it seems like markets are pretty dead set that we're going to see one more cut at a 75% probability. So expecting one more cut in December. And it'll be interesting to see if Trump says anything about it as he gets ready to take the presidency back. Moving over to fear and greed, you can see this continues to step down. A week ago, 63, yesterday 62, today 57, despite the fact that markets are continuing to go up sharply, back into extreme greed on momentum, strength pulling back, breadth flattening here, if not rolling down a little bit. Put call ratio actually turned down a little bit once again, back to 0.63, extreme greed there. And overall, this is pretty mixed. You can see volatility starting to turn up slightly, safe haven demand cratering here today, junk bonds continuing to rally here versus investment bonds, still fear there. So definitely interesting to see this indicator going the opposite direction of markets. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see a lot of red on the board here, non-farms coming in weak. Composite PMI, services PMI, factory orders, non-manufacturing employment, manufacturing PMI, all very, very weak. And then you have non-manufacturing prices a little bit hot. So this is pretty much as bad as it could have been, below expectations nearly across the board. Some of these numbers are still above the 50 line, so not that awful, but a lot of red, surprisingly so. And then looking at tomorrow, continuing and initial jobless claims, Fed balance sheet, and then Friday going to be a ton of data, so we'll see how that one plays out with that unemployment data, non-farm payrolls here, and the unemployment rate. Moving over to Max Payne, call wall still at 605, pretty high number, stock price above that at 607. We'll see if this continues to rally past the top of the puts. We're already there, waiting to see if this comes down into the Friday. Maybe we're overthrowing it ahead of that unemployment data. Put call ratio is not super high, so that would say markets could fall a little bit, but they have not done it. They just continued to be a rocket ship despite these call walls to the upside. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see we did get that resumption right to the trend, and we closed right on top of it at 607.83. Closing price was 607.91, so very, very close to that level. Momentum resuming. We are now overbought conditions, so we're continuing to grind along this trend line. We talked about the separation yesterday, but gapped up and rallied right to it. And it does continue to be interesting resistance. You can see we're selling about 70 cents after hours. Tomorrow, the trend line is going to sit up here at 609.50. We'll see if that continues to be interesting or if it breaks higher up into the 619 area is my next resistance. But this is a higher high. Even if we sold at this point, you would expect a higher low continuation style move. And you can see it here on the hourly chart, just continuing to stair step up basically every day. We got the push in the pre-market catalyzed by the Salesforce earnings in the after hours yesterday. Continuation here, almost hit the trend. Slight pullback, definitely overbought, but doesn't seem to matter. Just continuing to grind higher every single day seemingly. Moving over to the Tasty charts here on the hourly, you can see we did get a really strong push right on that 2 o'clock candle, and we hit the upper band. The high of that candle was 607.91, and the upper band was 607.86. And look at that volume on that candle. So usually when you see a big push to a critical level, big volume, you can see we got it here as well. We ended up getting a pullback into this mid-range. We went from 163 back down to 161, got a little bit of a pullback in here. My guess is this will probably pull back some more in tomorrow's session. And even looking at the 4-hour chart, you can see that upper band, big volume spike right there. It's not as big of a spike on the 4-hour chart, but we still hit the critical vol level of a 2. We haven't hit that since back here on the 15th, and that was during the critical turn here, right? So we came into the zone of support, big R vol spike, and that turned the tide. Now we hit a critical level here. R-vol spike. Is that going to turn the tide? I think there's a fair possibility that it could. Moving over to the NASDAQ, it did push through all of those levels, gapped all the way through up to this level here, came back, touched that trend line just for a moment, and then continued higher on the day, 1.24%. Big push on the day. Based on this kind of a move, you would expect a push to that upper trend in the 540 area. Is it going to continue straight up like this? It seems like it probably wouldn't, but who knows? Markets have been pretty irrational here over the last 4 days. The concern is what we just saw on the SPY. If the SPY has hit a critical level, usually that's going to take the NASDAQ with it, but continues to look very strong here today at 1.25%. And then looking at that hourly chart, you can see basically the same as the SPY, rallied through the pre-market, sideways consolidation, rallied into the end of the session, slight pullback after hours, super extended, saw an 84.94 on the RSI. You don't see that very often. You can see we're almost overbought on the daily chart at a 68.96. Probably going to touch overbought conditions tomorrow with a wick in my opinion. We'll see how it plays out, but right now starting to see a little bit of a pullback after hours. Maybe we retest the trend here. That would give you some support in the 521.50 area. That's only about $1 lower, so see how it plays out. This zone is interesting to me. Continues to look very bullish. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, you can see still super aggressive, super overbought here to the upside. You can see the Qs can do this. Big push here, continue to go straight up, pretty much in line with those ATR bands, and that's what's happening now. We're grinding up along that ATR band, slightly above it here. Doji candle, not seeing the same kind of volume spikes that we saw on the 4-hour chart for the SPY, but you can see some here on the hourly. Last candle of the day, big volume spike there. Not as definitive here on this chart as the SPY, but it is interesting to see those at the end of the session. We did see one here, big up candle, consolidation, continuation. So hard to say really, doesn't look as clean as the SPY charts. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, the Russell was positive on the day, 0.36, ended up holding that 9 EMA, rallied right back to the level, 241.05. Would have liked to see it close above that level, it did not. So now we're at this zone of resistance, and you can see after hours we're selling about 50 cents. Momentum still bearish. RSI holding at the SMA, slight bounce there. Want to see it continue above the level and push if it's going to do it. At this point, it does look like a really shallow pullback. Most likely it's going to reject from that trend, push a little bit lower, but we'll see how it plays out. Right now, it did hold up, hoping for a little bit of a continuation. And then looking at the Dow, gap up, rally through the trend, looking for a push to the next trend here at 554.39. Moving over to the Mag 7, continues to do this rocket ship style move towards that upper trend in the 330s. Strong candle here, 1.2%. If this continues to go into that zone, markets are going to go with it. Right now, momentum super bullish, RSI already overbought here on the daily chart. But again, looks very strong. 3 stacked candles, really 4 if you count down here. But the breakout candle plus 2 more already. A little bit of intermediate resistance there at 321.33, but nothing close. Everything looks strong. Then moving over here to Unity, I got asked about this one. We've been talking about it on the channel a little bit, but we had this consolidation here. We said if that 9 EMA held, we should get the breakout. And sure enough, we did get the break above this consolidation area here today. Pushed right to my level at 26.43. We had that on the charts from before. You can see marks a consolidation back here, as well as some bottoms throughout the last couple years here on this chart. So critical level, if it pushes through here, what I'm hoping for is a gap through the level, continuation run to the next one around that 30.89 level, trend resistance in here around 32.26. You can see this trend structure has been pretty consistent. So you have the first initial low, the higher low set up here, rallied to the upper trend, took this trend, copied the same slope, put it on that level. If we do get the push, that would be your target in that 32.16 area. I could see maybe you lower this a little bit to maybe there to be a little bit more conservative. That would give you a target in here around 31.20 or so, pretty much right on top of that level at 30.92. Momentum still bullish. RSI a little bit overbought, which is concerning. Usually this stock doesn't stay super overbought for too long. You can see we got overbought back here. 23 September, you had one more up candle, hit that critical point, consolidation, pull back. So that's a little bit annoying to see that overbought condition already, but we'll see how it plays out. If we get the gap continuation, that's what I'm hoping for. One more for the individual stocks. Looking at ROKU here, you can see we got a big push, 9.58%, gapped right to the level, held it, pushed through the session. If this continues to run like I think that it could, the gap fill is all the way back here around $90. The level for me, $99.89. You can see that breakdown retest right in that zone. And then we had the big breakdown from there. So far, we've had the low, higher low, higher low. Again, super volatile stock. You can see this candle's 11.6%. Today was 9.5. If it pushes to that level, that would be about another 20% or so. Momentum super bullish, RSI super bullish. The support level is this consolidation high, which is sitting in here at 79.70. Moving on to Apple and Microsoft, you can see Apple took a breather, 0.15, doji candle, indecision candle, super overbought, momentum very, very extended. We'll see if this is the culmination point. It is falling a smidgen after hours. And then looking at Microsoft here, you can see big candle up, right? So we got the gap in the rally headed towards that 440.72 level. We got the breakout back here on Monday, held the level on Tuesday. Should have expected the continuation, which we did get here. Didn't hit the price target. The high of day was 439.67, so very, very close, just about $1 off of that level. If you're not greedy, you probably took profits if you did participate in this trade, but for now you're looking at this as a zone of resistance. If it breaks out, your next level is 453. Seems like Microsoft is a little bit back in play here. Strong base, consolidation, we're at the peaks. This is either going to reject like it did here and then fall all the way back into the 408 area, in my opinion, or it's going to break out from here and probably push back to its previous highs in the 466 area. So see how it plays out. Right now, looks very strong. I wouldn't get in the way until we see at least some hesitation, a little bit of rejection from that level. Moving over to NVIDIA and Tesla, you can see both of these had a good day, 1.85 and 3.4%. NVIDIA pushing way through that 21, clear through VWAP, clear through the level 144.42. At this point, you should expect to push back to the all-time high at 149.65. Momentum swinging to bullish, RSI swinging to bullish. Seems like NVIDIA is back in play. Maybe we push back to the trend here in the 153.50 area. This looks really, really good for me. I would probably be looking at this one closely tomorrow. The level is 144.42. If we stay above it, I would be very bullish. If we dip below, I would be cautious here because of how strong this candle was. Technically, you could try to get bearish off of that level, but I would be looking to use it as support. And then looking at Tesla, you have the trend resistance here tomorrow, 361.52. We'll see if that level continues to be interesting. Hit the trend, kind of drifted off it, pushing back towards it, falling a smidgen after hours, but looking for the push to that level tomorrow. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet, both of these had strong pushes. Amazon 2.2%, gaps through the level, continued higher, new all-time highs there for Amazon, almost overbought, momentum bullish. And then looking at Google, it continues to shake off this DOJ investigation. Don't forget about that. I still think that's going to be important, but it pushed through the 21, pushed through VWAP, so we didn't get the setup I was hoping for. Continuation now is probably the play up to that 179.42 level. The structure is still quite weird for me because it is a low, higher low here, but if you kind of consider this pullback, we had the big up candle pullback here. You could say low, lower low, looking for the lower high, continuation lower. I would be a little bit more cautious. The play right now is definitely bullish, but the chart is kind of ugly, so be careful if you're looking for a move here. Moving over to Staples and discretionaries. These did not do much yesterday, but today you got fairly decent moves. Staples selling off, gap down, hanging man candle, probably going to sell some more. Momentum's fading. And then looking at discretionaries, rocket ship 0.93. We got the slight dip low, continuation here, big up candles pushing towards this trend. Tomorrow it's at 229, maybe probably going to go a little higher, 230, 50, somewhere in there, but see how it plays out. Closed on the highs, momentum bullish, RSI super overbought, but that still does not seem to matter here. Pretty much across markets. You can see this previous read was all the way up at a 78.12. Right now we're at a 74.4, waiting to see if we get to that level. Moving over to RIOT and Marathon. Both of these had a great day, 6.6% and 3.3%. This looks like a continuation. We closed on the high, just barely above this consolidation high closes. We still have the wick there, but I think this is probably going to get a continuation here. We had the pullback in time, consolidation, held the lows, continuation style move. If RIOT breaks from here and pushes through 14.18, I could see this pushing into the 18 area, so think about that. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Similarly here on Marathon, pulled back, dipped below the trend. We're back above it here. We're closed on the high, strong candle, want to see it push through this level here. I have alerts on both of these, but if it pushes through up through this kind of consolidation high zone in here, $27, I could absolutely see this push back to $32.95, something in there. So keep an eye on it. This looks good. Looks like we're holding up here. Looking for the push on both of these tomorrow. Moving over to Breadth, you can see Breadth did dip lower, but we did see a little bit of wick rejection there. So we were looking for the low, higher low, higher low. Seems like that is happening pretty much now. So if we do hold this level and we start to get that continuation up, and markets have already been very bullish, and if we see Breadth start to expand with that rally, this could get pretty aggressive here into the end of the year. Something to keep in mind, markets continue to look very strong. They are absolutely extended, but Breadth seems to be finding support now. And like I said, if Breadth supports the rally some more, that could get very aggressive to the upside. Moving over to the dollar, dollar still looks like left shoulder head, right shoulder continuing to hold here. 9 EMA is your resistance at 106.3. If that continues to sell from here and breaks this 21, headed back towards 105.5, maybe even lower, 104.4, that could be interesting. Momentum kind of sideways, RSI kind of bearish, so nearly below all the EMAs and SMAs on the hourly. Dollar looking quite weak, which again is probably giving equities some strength. Moving over to bonds, JNK, strong candle there, continuing to show risk on, closed on the high, probably going to continue this push. You can see push up, held the 21 retest, continuation higher, held the 21 retest, continuation higher in my opinion. RSI looks good there. And then look at TLT, big gap down, and then rallied through and held all of those levels now at 94. This is probably going to go. Momentum's bullish, RSI is not overbought yet. I think this is going to push here soon back up to that 96.5 area. Got some trend resistance in here, 96.2, but either way, this looks good for me. Probably going to take a while to do it, but does look bullish. And then moving over to the VIX, after all of that bullish talk, you can see the VIX is finding some support, finding a little bit of strength, momentum swinging to bullish. You can see divergence here on the momentum indicator, big bearish momentum bounce, price going much lower, momentum weaker, finding a bounce, RSI flattening out. This is all of the indicators you would expect for a VIX that's about to spike. So something to keep in mind. It could just go sideways from here, but it is showing some indicators of a potential bounce. Moving over to my accounts, I made very little money, way less than I should have, about $50 on the day. But in terms of positions, you can see here, IWM rolled out to 242 for the Friday session for a small credit, closed basically on my full profit position, ended up doing fine on the day, 117, pretty good there. And then looking at the individual, it says I made $800. I absolutely didn't. I'm not sure why it says that. You can see my actual account value is only up about $60, which is a huge bummer. Most of the rally there was after hours, which again was a bit of a bummer. I took off that one call, so now I have a 521, 522 here. Again, still 9 days from now for $4 credit, so max profit up at 525 and 526. So still have some room to the upside even if we continue to rally for that max profit. And then I did pick up a position on U, just one call here. It's down a little bit, small position for me, but I'm curious. I want to see if we get the gap through the level continuation style run. It's absolutely a possibility. If it rejects off that level, then I'll probably take this position off, at least in the short term. But I think there's certainly a possibility we get a gap and go or a gap through the level continuation on U. So see how it plays out. Overall, still in a bullish position across markets. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of J-Powell's comments and the potential upcoming cuts. What do you think about this rally? Can we continue straight up through the end of the year? Or are we going to hit that critical point? Is the volume on the SPY trying to tell us something? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.